I'm Elex Michaelson. Welcome to The Issue Is on a week when the line is even blurrier than usual between comedy and politics. Margaret Cho is here, taking off on everything from President Trump to diversity in Hollywood, including those crazy rich Asians. Also this week, oh my, Omarosa is her former boss responsible for creating a monster. Plus, the reason why bird and lime are four-letter words to people who think scooters are hell on wheels. We got a stellar panel of pundits: radio provocateur John Kobylt, psychologist on the air Dr. Wendy Walsh, and comic extraordinaire Rod Mann. The Issue Is starts right now.
The things that he says, the things that he does, the fact that he only eats fast food, this is alarming to me.
Comedian Margaret Cho didn't think Donald Trump would win the election. Now that he has, she's got a lot of fresh material. Margaret Cho, welcome to The Issue Is.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
You wear so many hats, you could open up a hat store.
Yes.
You're a stand-up comedian, of course, also a fashion designer, an author, and an actress who starred in the path-breaking 1990 sitcom All-American Girl at a time when Asian American actors were usually kept far in the background. Margaret, of course, also unforgettable as North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il on the show 30 Rock. That was so hilarious. And now you have the challenge of comedy in the age of Trump. So Donald Trump has really overwhelmed the national conversation in so many fronts. How has he changed comedy?
Well, I think that we just didn't realize how bad it could get. You know, we sort of thought that George W. Bush was the worst of the worst. Now I look back really fondly on those years thinking we had it really great, and we all owe him a big apology. But I think that, you know, it's actually really scary what's going on, and it's always good for comedy, of course, because we need to keep our spirits up, but it's still very depressing.
How do you deal with the fact that the country is so divided? And there are people out there, you know, 40, potentially more percent of the country that supports him. And if you go too far against him, do you risk losing audience?
I don't think so, because I think the people who actually do support him are rapidly becoming very disillusioned. And they're realizing that he's betrayed them. He doesn't care about their needs.
Although some 90% of Republicans still support him.
Well, they just don't want to say they were wrong. They just don't want to admit it. And it's really, I mean, it's sad.
You know, one of the questions is it possible to go too far? Of course, Kathy Griffin's career famously derailed, at least for a minute, for that notorious photo of what was meant to look like a decapitated President Trump. And just this week, the band Pearl Jam annoyed some Trump supporters with this poster for their concert last Monday in Montana. A closer look at the burning White House reveals an eagle picking at a skeleton that has hair like President Donald Trump. And here's the poster for flame-throwing filmmaker Michael Moore's next movie, Fahrenheit 11/9, with the highly provocative tagline, "Tyrant, liar, racist, a hole in one." Is it possible to go too far? And is it possible because you go too far that you actually, it's bad for the message?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's actually a wonderful expression when you can take this real anger, righteous anger, and turn it into art. And these are artists that I, you know, admire, not just for their artwork, but for their activism, whether it's Kathy or Eddie or Michael. They're really incredible at what they do. And so I think it's wonderful righteous anger.
Yeah, so you don't think they went too far?
I don't think so. I mean, even Kathy, which I think what she did was incredibly provocative and really got people alarmed. That's part of what she loves to do. You know, she is a real provocateur. That's what I think makes it so perfect for her to do what she did.
She certainly provoked a lot of discussion. Yeah. Another thing that has had a lot of discussion is this concept of the Oscars and Oscars so white. And you've been somebody who's really been a leader in that conversation. This concept that the Oscars have been whitewashed. You've aimed at trying to inject more diversity in Hollywood. You cast a month-long campaign earlier this year calling on people to take a stand against whitewashing. Tweets such as, "Those who say that racism doesn't exist anymore are the biggest perpetrators of it," and "Call me when Asian American is a lead in a film." Well, I'm calling you.
Yes.
Because this week we have Crazy Rich Asians opening in theaters. It's the first time we've had sort of Asian-led movie, major Hollywood studio in 25 years since Joy Luck Club.
Yeah.
What does this moment mean to you?
It is so exciting, and of course this week we also saw Constance Wu on the cover of Time magazine, which is incredible, and it is about time. This is a huge thing. I'm so excited. I have so many friends in the movie, and I'm just at just a wonderful place in like thinking, we really changed the world. We can really change, and this is really the realization of that change, and it's so great.
The only thing I'm upset about is that you're not in the movie.
I know. I should be in the sequels. I would love to be in the next ones. And but this is also great for all of us out here. We've been hustling for so long, and you know, I just never thought I would see the day when this would happen, and this is great.
You know, a lot of people celebrated Joy Luck Club 25 years ago, and that turned out to be sort of a one-off. Do you think that this is a one-off, or do you think that this is a beginning of a much larger movement?
This is the beginning of something much larger and something very needed, and I think that it's really really exciting. I feel like there is a permanence to it, that there is so much force behind it, and you know, there are so many wonderfully talented people in this movie, and you're just seeing the first sort of blast of it, and that's really great.
You're also on the road recently. You're been on a tour called Fresh Off the Bloat.
Yes, fresh off Fresh Off the Boat, I love. The show, of course, is a huge hit and so exciting to me, too. And so my take on it, Fresh Off the Bloat. Yeah. Just, about Asian issues and water retention.
Yeah. And then part of this, you've been joking about the Me Too movement,
yes,
or you have comedy derived about that.
Yes.
How do you joke about the Me Too movement? How do you sort of balance that?
Well, when it's coming from the perspective of a survivor, and I am a survivor, and also have so many stories in my story about what has happened to me, and you know, working in the film industry and in television in the 90s, where this kind of predatory behavior was really prevalent, and you just had to deal with it. And so I have a lot to say on the issue, and I think that when it comes from the perspective of somebody who's endured it, there is a lot to say, and it's way different from making rape jokes. It's not that. It's really about telling your story in a way that's really important.
What's your big takeaway?
I think that it's just there's an opportunity to educate people about it, but also to rise above it. That if you've endured it, you can rise above it, and it's all about surviving.
And what's your advice to other survivors?
That we have the ability to take our power back, that we have the ability to take control back, and that is so empowering.
Yeah. In the show, you like to have some fun, and here on The Issue Is, we like to have some fun too. So we do something called personal issues. So we want to put 30 seconds up on the clock and learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite karaoke song?
Oh, Total Eclipse of the Heart, which I do sing with Kathy Griffin often. We sing it together.
Awesome. Who's your role model?
My mom.
Favorite comedian?
My favorite comedian, Wanda Sykes.
Favorite nickname?
Maggie.
Favorite food?
Oh, I love chocolate.
Favorite type of music?
Can't go wrong with punk rock.
Favorite movie?
I think, well, Joy Luck Club has to be it.
Favorite book?
Favorite book, Infinite Jest.
Maggie, you did great.
Thank you.
Excellent done. And you know, this week we're also honoring Aretha Franklin. And every week on the show we play a lot of music. But this week, all of our music is going to be Aretha Franklin. Do you have a favorite Aretha memory?
Well, I always love anything, you know, just hearing her voice. You know, I would love like seeing her in the studio in the black and white with a cigarette in front of the microphone. Just an iconic figure and an incredible voice. All of it. I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And just ahead, our panel joins us to talk about Omarosa and so much more. You see him right over there. Radio personalities John Kobylt, Dr. Wendy Walsh, along with comedian Rod Mann here as well. Don't go away. Stay with us, as Rod's saying. Come back. This is my favorite Aretha Franklin memory. During the first ever Divas Live on VH1, Aretha overpowered all the most successful female artists in the world. She turned them all into her background singers and proved why she was the queen. So speaking of overpowering divas, let's talk about Omarosa. First, let's say hello to this week's panel of pundits. John Kobylt is well known to Southern California radio listeners. He, of course, is the co-host of the very popular John and Ken show, heard on KFI AM 640. Dr. Wendy Walsh is a psychologist, a college lecturer, one of Time Magazine's Persons of the Year, and she also is a radio host at KFI, an award-winning television journalist. KFI should be paying us some money for this show. Also, Rod Mann is a comedian who won Last Comic Standing on NBC. Rod's going to be performing at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach on August 28th through the 30th. So the big story of the week, as we mentioned, is what's up with Omarosa. She's been releasing tapes she secretly recorded as a way to promote her book. The former villain on The Apprentice is creating plenty of real-life drama, which led me to ask White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley the obvious question on Good Day LA. Take a look. Her reputation was being a liar and a backstabber. He says that he hires the best people. Was hiring Omarosa hiring the best people?
Listen, Hillary Clinton stocked her campaign with establishment types.
But
and
Hillary
paid
Clinton's
them
not the
bukus
president.
amounts of
Donald
money.
Trump's the president.
Correct. What I'm saying is she had thousands and thousands of people working for her, bleeding her dry.
So, Rod, what do you make of the Omarosa situation?
She wrote a book. And a lot of people, I mean, Omarosa, it's kind of tricky. It's almost like who lie you by. Who lie you by? Because, you know, Trump tells a few lies and Omarosa tell a few lies. So it's kind of like, who lie you gonna buy? But then Omarosa said, hey, I'm gonna tape some of mine. Then therefore, I got a little more credibility on this front of my lie. So she looked like she looked like she's telling the truth on this one.
Do you believe her?
Yes and no, because she is an opportunist. I know that. But at the same time, she got tapes, man. So I mean, it looked crazy, but it's just on top of all the others. So throw it on the pile. Throw it on the pile. This too, she'll pass.
Okay.
But right now, just on the pile.
John, what do you guys think?
It is really creepy and horrible and disgusting that she's walking around for months and months taping everybody's private conversation. Can you imagine if somebody did that to you? That suddenly there was a headline that the last 6 months of everything you said is going to be broadcast out of context on the air? I mean, there isn't anybody I know in my life who doesn't say horrible things at times. I mean, I just think it's unbelievably...
John, I have a tape recorder going right now.
Well,
So be careful.
I do all my stuff on the air.
This conversation is being recorded.
Yeah, no,
So,
I mean, that is an absurd way to live.
But does the president bear some responsibility here, Wendy? Because he hired her and didn't.
Absolutely.
How did he not know what she was?
First of all, let's be realistic. There's no reality in reality shows. Everything is completely contrived, and he knew that he could direct her well. Now, in one case, he directed her as the villain. So I guess maybe she was the only black person he knew, so he had to get somebody in the White House. Yeah. So
Dr.
he looked
Carson?
around and said, and so Dr. Carson and Omarosa, and he knew that he had to at least get a little bit of flavor in the White House. So he pulled her in there thinking that she would be as directable as usual.
We know that Michael Cohen was also secretly tape recording President Trump as well. What do you make of the fact that so many people in his inside circle felt the need to record him?
He hires a lot of really bad people.
But he says he hires the best people.
He doesn't. Just on that one. He hires lunatics, like that guy Scaramucci, too.
Yeah,
These people are mental patients.
Yeah, he need a
Omarosa's a
proofreader.
mental patient.
He didn't show up at the birth of his child. That's so disturbing to me. But I think that the president is busy lying himself.
Yes.
And so everyone, in order to protect themselves, is trying to record as much as they can to try to get some semblance of truth.
There's no honor among thieves, Alex. There's a lot of thievery going on, man. Come on, there's no honor.
Wendy, you know this. Crazy people attract crazy people.
Absolutely.
They're comfortable with crazy people.
Yeah,
exactly.
Normal people aren't comfortable with crazy. So normal people don't want to work there. But all the nuts, they're going to line
so
up.
it's going to be a lot of turnover.
Up next, we're going to talk about transportation. Those hated scooters. Stay with us for more of The Issue Is. And first, more Aretha.
Yeah, rock steady.
We continue to honor Aretha Franklin, her song Freeway of Love, as we begin to talk about one of the biggest issues in California, transportation. A big question, what to do about those motorized scooters that you see everywhere? Brands such as Bird and Lime are beloved by some. They're an inexpensive and convenient way to get around areas with a ton of traffic and limited parking. Others, though, hate them. Some post videos destroying them, like you're looking at here. They say they're dangerous, they're left in the middle of the road, they're unregulated. Some cities, including Santa Monica, considering banning them. So what do you think? Back with our panel, we've got John Kobylt here, Dr. Wendy Walsh, and Rod Mann. Wendy, what do you think?
Well, I love the birds. First of all, my front gate is a parking spot for them, 8 of them lined up, fully charged in the morning. I know retired people who are making livings charging them at night. I know that it gets my college students around, and it's very affordable, and it's good for the environment. However, we need to regulate it a bit. We need to include a helmet with every bird hanging on there, that the bird doesn't move until you have a helmet. Bird needs to pay for that. We need people to be cited if they're not wearing helmets, and they need to be put them back. Because I've seen a man with disabilities couldn't get his wheelchair by on the sidewalk, and it's about the users not putting them away properly.
Rod?
Yeah, I agree with Wendy on some of that, but I'm against grown people. Now the children understand on scooters because it's a kid's toy, but I'm against grown people riding scooters.
Well, you're supposed to have a driver's license, so you have to be 16.
16 to drive the bird.
That is the most violated law.
Right, yeah, you supposed. See the key word in that, supposed to, Wendy. So, I see all types, man. But I'm just, and some people be on the sidewalk with them. That's just like having the massage chair at the mall that's cost $1. Would you want that on the sidewalk all the time? No, you need an area for that. You like to have skate parks, give them a scooter park. And you just go do your little scooter and leave it at the scooter park. But them things be all over the cities, man.
A lot of people love them. They're everywhere, John.
Well, until you get run over by one.
Yeah.
I had the guy called our show and said that he got ran over at the Santa Monica Pier, broke his arm, severed a tendon in his biceps. He wants them all banned. Because if you have a lot of teenage boys joyriding on those things, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
So they're going to mow down normal people.
Around the table, yes or no? Yes. Should they be banned? Should they be banned?
Yes.
No.
Ban them.
Okay.
All right.
This show and all of our past and future shows are available in podcast form. Just search for The Issue Is wherever you stream your podcast. So we're listening right now to more Aretha Franklin. And up next, one fitting tribute to Aretha. It's the perfect way to end our show. So stay with us for that. Aretha Franklin teaching a thing or two to the Blues Brothers back in the day. There are so many wonderful Aretha memories. So as we wrap up this week, we want to give our panel their opportunity to give the propers to the Queen of Soul and show their respect. So let's talk about your favorite Aretha memories. Rod.
Me for Aretha, a child growing up, that always meant when I hear Aretha coming through the household, that means it's time to get up, we about to clean up. So that was my mom. Music, love, Aretha Franklin, play that, and we got to get up and make it happen. So give him something he can feel. She gave us something we can feel. So rest in peace to her family and everybody, man.
Wendy.
Well, I was a young reporter in the early 90s for HBO, and I interviewed her. At the height of her fame, she came with no entourage. She walked into the room. I had a makeup artist there she was wearing a white collar and tucked in a white tissue around the collar in order to not get makeup on it. And after we did the whole interview, and she knew I was in a hurry, I was pressed to get to another interview, I was stressed, she suddenly realized that the Kleenex had been left on her collar for the entire interview. And there was this moment where she was gonna be a diva and say, we gotta do it again. And then she's like, ain't nobody gonna notice, let's just go. And she was lovely, and she understood. I was the one pressed for time more than her.
Wow.
She was lovely.
I got to see her perform about 10 years ago, Grammy Week. They have a Music Cares gala. She was the person of the year. Somebody invited us to go, and she sang at it. And because it was it was a gala, it was an intimate setting. It wasn't like seeing her in Staples Center from half a mile away. We were pretty close, and she did about 6, 7 songs on stage. And when you see her that close and you hear the power of her voice, it's just overwhelming.
The only time I ever got to see Aretha live was during the inauguration of Barack Obama. She celebrated America in front of more than 2 million of us on the National Mall. So we end this week with the Queen. Take it away.
Man, who am I?